I am Dr. Bill Berkowitz of Life Chiropractic in Grass Valley. Let's talk today about the 5 critical legs to a successful alternative anxiety treatment program. Why anxiety? There's an epidemic of anxiety. The percentage of people suffering from some form of anxiety is rising geometrically. It's an epidemic, and medications are obviously not the answer. They have a whole host of side effects, but I don't believe in side effects because there is only cause and effect. There's no side effect. There's effects that you don't want and effects that you do want. Certainly addiction or dependence wouldn't be an effect that you would want. So whether it's Xanax or Klonopin or Valium or any of the other medications that are commonly prescribed for anxiety, you really long-term want to stay away from those. So anxiety, what is it? I'm not going to delve deep into that, but there's an imbalance in the nervous system that's driving anxiety. It's an overactivity of the sympathetic fight or flight system. This is a system that should come online primarily when there's a threat to our survival. However, in our modern life, it's activated daily by things that we don't recognize as a potential threat, because it's not a real threat, it's a potential threat. So what do you need to do? If you want to overcome anxiety, and who wants to live with anxiety, you need to create more balance in your nervous system, because anxiety is a sign that there's significant imbalance in your nervous system. And certainly some therapy might be warranted, but that typically isn't going to help you overcome the imbalance in the nervous system. So here's the 5 critical legs to overcoming anxiety from my perspective and my experience of more than 35 years in clinical practice. Number 1, you need to remove the interference, the tension from your nervous system. You see, the part of the nervous system that impacts anxiety, and the part of the nervous system that counteracts that, travel through the upper neck from the brainstem. And if there's tension, imbalance, bones out of place in that area, then it puts adverse tension on those nerves and creates an imbalance right there. I put a great deal of focus in my clinical practice on the upper neck, the entire cervical spine, as well as down in the pelvis, as they have the greatest impact on that part of the nervous system. We also want to address posture, movements, positions, because quite often we injure ourselves, we have some discomfort, or we have a work routine that puts stress on our body that further aggravates and activates that imbalance in the nervous system. And so as we remove the interference, we don't want to continue to stress that area. So we want to address how we should sit, how we should stand, and typical movement patterns. One of the more important things that I address is proper breathing. Most of us breathe improperly. How could that be, right? I mean, breathing is something you don't have to think about. Most of us breathe. In fact, go in front of a bathroom mirror with little clothing on your upper body and take a couple of breaths. You should see very little to no movement in the upper chest, in the shoulders, and in the neck. All of the movement should happen in the lower ribs and abdomen. So you need to learn to breathe through your nose. You need to breathe with your diaphragm and in your abdomen. And from there are other ways that we need to change your breathing to activate the vagus nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's critical leg number 4, is vagus nerve activation. The vagus nerve cultivates a experience of ease and safety in your body. Anxiety is the opposite of that. You don't feel safe. So we want to do everything that we can to raise the activity or the tone of the vagus nerve. In doing so, we will help rebalance that parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. And the 5th critical leg is sleep. Now, sleep can be a little bit tricky because often sleep is disturbed by the stresses that produce anxiety. But if you can't carve out consistent, regular, quality sleep time, your chances of overcoming anxiety drop significantly. So you want to have a dark room, you want to have a cool environment, you want to go to bed hours and hours away from any stimulants like coffee. You want to avoid alcohol, and you want to avoid anything that's emotionally, mentally stimulating in the last couple of hours before bed. And you want to carve out enough time that you can sleep for 7 hours or more. So sleeping for 7 hours will likely mean 7.5 to 8 hours in bed. So those are the 5 critical legs. There's nothing going to move the needle more in terms of getting this jump started than chiropractic care, because we're going to remove some of the source of tension and interference that's driving this imbalance. And then the rest of the legs are going to cultivate that balance to a greater degree. For more information, make sure to go to my website, lifewithinchiropractic.com. And make sure to subscribe to all my social media channels where I post regularly. Thank you.